What's going on, guys? This is Ligardy of Ligardy's Hats coming to you guys from JJ Hat Center with our very first episode of Hat Masters. Now, Hat Masters is going to be a weekly series where I bring you guys all things hat. We're going to be discussing hat culture, hat style, hat fashion, hat care, and overall hat customization. So without further ado, we're going to start this party off with the very hat that I have on my head, while simultaneously telling you guys a little bit of my backstory so you guys are a little more familiar with who I am. All right, as I mentioned before, my name is Ligardy. I come from Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally born in Haiti. I've been living in New York my entire life. And throughout that time, I've learned all there is to know about trends and style. There have been trends in and out of just a short period of time that I've been here on this planet. Trends have come, trends have gone, and some trends have stayed. Hat culture has been one of those things that has kind of faded away for a little while, but with my help and your help especially, we plan to bring hat culture back. So I initially started off collecting baseball caps. I was a big time baseball cap collector, whether it was fitted caps or snapbacks. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a major difference in the two. I am currently wearing a snapback cap, which is absolutely adjustable. There are a few straps there, so it gives you the option to adjust to almost every head size. There are some heads that are unhattable. Quoted. There are some hats out there, there's some heads out there that are unhattable, but this itself is a snapback cap, and the adjustability aspect of it is what makes this particular cap stand out. There are also fitted caps, and the difference between a snapback and a fitted cap is that a fitted cap has a specific size that's attached to it. So fitted cap can range anywhere from 6 7/8, which is one of the smaller sizes that I've seen, all the way up to about 7 3/4, which is on the larger end of the spectrum there. Gave you a little bit of hat size history. But we're gonna start off with this cap. I started off collecting baseball caps and other kinds of sports caps, to be honest with you. The main thing that attracted me to the different caps were the different logos, I'm a big graphic designer enthusiast, so I love good graphic design, I love good logos, I love good marketing, and brand. I love good brand recognition, so I would collect caps that had really cool logos, or logos that haven't been put into production yet, prototype logos, or logos that are not in production anymore. So I try to hunt down pretty rare caps. I don't just go for your average Joe cap. I mean, if I would go for an average Joe cap, I just get a Yankee cap, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Yankees, shout out to New York. I would just get myself a Yankee cap, and I think I have too many of those as it now stands, but I started off collecting these caps, and that's what brought my love for hats about. Because I wore so many of these caps, you gotta start experimenting. You go to lids, sometimes you see a little something there, you put it on, you try it, and then you wind up liking it. So I've always saw myself in a fedora, but I never knew where to really approach it and get into it. I certainly didn't know that JJ Hat Center existed at the time, because had I known, things would have been a little bit different, but I'm glad I discovered JJ's when I did. So from collecting caps, I've collected over 80 baseball caps, basketball caps, and from collecting caps, I eventually started to grow and start to mold my style. I always have this saying: the hat completes the outfit. So no matter what you have on, you have to have your hat to match it. Whether it's your Air Jordans matching your fitted cap or your fedora matching the color of your suit, it completes the outfit overall. So from baseball caps and fitted caps and snapbacks, we're gonna move on to something a little more grown, right? What happens when you reach the point in your youth where the baseball cap is not cutting it anymore? You're going out to more dinners. You're having a lot more luncheons with friends. You want to switch it up a little bit. You want to be the age that you are. You want to feel a little more mature. The first step people usually take, they don't just hop into the fedora more time than not. The first step that they usually go about are the dress caps. Now I have two examples of dress caps. I'm going to grab them for you here, and I'm going to show you guys. The first dress cap that I have is the flat cap. The flat cap is, you've seen this over a million times. Your dad has one of these, your grandpa has one of these. So the flat cap is very, very basic, very easy to wear. Not very many panels involved in this, much like its counterpart here. Let's get rid of that. The newsboy cap. The newsboy cap is a little different. It has 6 to 8 panels, I should say. Not all newsboy caps are built the same. It has 6 to 8 panels, and then they both have a visor. Most visors nowadays are made of a harder plastic or material that won't disintegrate after you wash it a couple times. But this one has 8 panels. And then it has more of that flared look, so kind of that golfy, Peaky Blinders kind of look. Versus this is a little easier to wear, according to what I've heard from some of the customers. So this flat cap is usually the first cap people go with, and then they just start evolving and evolving. And eventually they come to this. Now, I didn't really have that experience. I kind of hopped into the pool head first. I didn't go to the cap route. In fact, this year was the very first time, or this last year I should say, was the very first time that I had the confidence to rock one of these. I actually didn't think I looked that good in them, but I think the trick is to find the one that looks good on you, find the specific one that looks good on you. And when you do find that one, you really kind of fall in love. I have my second dress cap now, so I think that this style is staying for me. But these are the two styles that you kind of move forward with after you click in with the baseball cap crew. I feel like that's the natural and gradual evolution of these things. So these two caps are the two primary things. Now they do come in all shapes and sizes. Some of these come much slimmer and more streamlined, right? They kind of taper in a little bit more so that it's a little closer to the head. And then these guys, sometimes they do that too, but more time than not, these guys get bigger. So this is what's considered a regular apple, right? And then there's the big apple, big old floppy things you usually see in the 1970s. Those are the big apples. So these have a little bit of range to them. So these are cool caps. Now I'm gonna move forward and we're gonna talk about fedoras. Now, what is a fedora? A fedora well, I'm gonna give you the proper definition. A fedora is a soft felt hat that has a curl brim and a crease or some sort of design in the crown, that goes down the length of the cap. That is the proper Oxfordish definition of the word fedora. But here at JJ's, the fedora is a fancy word for hat. So a fedora can come in many different shapes and sizes. It's not limited to the image that was generated by the words I just spoke. Fedoras can come in a vast number of shapes and sizes. And when you get into the realms of customization and adding your own personal touch into it, a fedora can be whatever it has to be. A fedora is not this though. There's a snap up and down, no curl brim. So the definition definitely holds, but a fedora can definitely be more than what's advertised. So I'm gonna start off by introducing you guys to what's considered a standard fedora by most accounts, as it suggests. We got the curl brim, you have the soft felt, and there are different types of felt out there. The entry grade felt would be wool felt. The next step up from there technically would be light felt, which is very, very high quality wool. And then the next step from there would be a rabbit fur felt. And then the very next step from there would be a beaver fur felt. Anything up from there could probably be a beaver mink or some type of a beaver blended with something, beaver cashmere. I've seen a whole myriad of different things, but those are essentially the four basic felts: your wool felt, light felt, rabbit fur felt, beaver fur felt, and then I guess the fifth would be the specialty blends of different felts. You can also blend all the other four that I just mentioned too, but this is your standard fur felt fedora. It comes with a brim that has the ability to snap. I think that that's very important in the description of a standard fedora. It needs to be able to snap. This is a short brim fedora, but fedoras can, like I said, come in many different shapes and sizes, so the brim could definitely expand from here. This particular brim type is a welted edge. The welted edge is cool. It's not my personal favorite, but I think it's cool. It's very compact, and it's very conservative look. It's nice and nice and calm. Nothing major. This hat can easily go with a suit. You can dress it up very well, or if you're feeling kind of cool and in that jazzy mood, this can definitely fit the bill as well. So this would be your standard fedora, ladies and gentlemen, standard short brim fedora, I should say. From there, excuse me, I forgot to mention the shape of the crown. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go over the different parts of the hat so you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys are not lost when I say brim, when I say crown, when I say bang, you know what I'm saying? So let's start off with what we're all familiar with, because I think all hats have one, except for maybe a fez or something like that. This is the brim, ladies and gentlemen. The brim, B-R-I-M, not rim, but brim. The brim of the hat is what will give you your proper sun coverage, that little shade right above the eyes that everybody knows and loves. So this is the brim of the hat. Most fedoras have brims, like I said, except for fezzes and hats that don't have brims. This would be considered the crown of the hat. Every hat has a crown, even my snapback here. They all have crowns. The crown of the hat can be shaped in a myriad of different ways, and in fact, I make my money from customizing pieces and things of that nature. So I changed the crown of my hat more times than I could count, and I will continue to. I think that in order for the hat to become yours, you have to put your touch on it. You got to put your flair on it. All right, so this is the crown of the hat. More time than not, it's going to come with a crease of some sort and pinches. These are all optional things that you can do, but more time than not, for a standard fedora, it's going to have 2 pinches and a crease. This particular crease is called a center crease. There are other creases out there. As we go on, you're gonna see some of the other styles that exist out there. This is a center crease with a pinch. Like I mentioned before, you don't have to do it. You can do it. It looks nice. So yeah, from there, we have our outer band. Our outer band can be tons of different colors. This is a standard black on black, but the outer band can change depending on the person. Sometimes I change my outer band every couple of years. You get a little sweat damage and it doesn't look as beautiful as it did before. So you change it up, you make it look a little nicer. This is the outer band here. Usually there is a bow on the one side or the other. The technical thing about it would be usually most man hats are gonna have it on the left side, and most of our ladies' hats are gonna have it on the right side. So those are the parts of the outside of the hat. Little things like this, accessories, pins, and feathers and stuff like that usually go on the bow or within the bow. And then from there, we have the inside of the hat. This part here, the leather band or cloth band here, is your sweatband. This is used to usually either absorb moisture or repel moisture. Leather bands usually repel moisture. Cloth bands kind of absorb it a little bit. I'm torn. I don't know which one I like more. I think I like cloth bands a little bit more than I like the leather bands, because they're a bit more forgiving on the forehead than the leather ones are. The leather one shrinks up on you because of things like oxidation and humidity shifts. Then you got to get it stretched out. It's a pain in the neck. The next part that we're going to talk about here is the hat lining. Most hats have a lining, but for things like spring and summer, a lot of the hats sometimes don't have linings. The lining is there to insulate and retain the heat so that when you're out there in the cold, you can wear your fedora comfortably. Most fedoras of this nature, unless they're made of straw or the lightweight material, are going to be fall, winter, semi-spring hats. So the lining definitely comes in handy in the essence of keeping warm, but they more time than not, they're removable. So you can always take the lining out if you want to keep wearing your hats a little bit longer in the spring before it gets a little too hot. So those are all the parts of the hat. We have the crown, we have the outer band, we have the brim, we have the bow with the accessory section over here. We have this sweatband on the inside, and then we have the lining here on the inside as well. Those are all the pieces of the hat. So remember this, ladies and gentlemen, when you're identifying your hats, when you're coming to us and you're trying to tell us what kind of hat you're looking for, these are the things that are going to keep us they're going to give us the ability to help you better. Stumbled over my words there. They're going to give us the ability to help you better because you'll be identifying the hat properly to us. And when you're talking about hats, you'll be teaching somebody a little something that they didn't know. So yes, those are all the parts of the hat. This is a proper standard fedora, standard short brim fedora. From there, we're going to move on to our next hat. Okay, our next piece is going to be a wide brim fedora. This is absolutely cool. It's still sporting the same center crease as the previous hat and the same pinches, but this one's a little different. All hats are built a little different. As you saw with the other one, it's a bit more square. This hat here is a bit more tapered, so it kind of peaks up a little bit more. And some people like that kind of height, some people don't. But the fact that we have options is the greatest thing in the world. No hat ever looks the same. Rather, no hat should ever look the same, in my opinion. Because we're not. None of us are the same. So, ramble. Anyway, this is a wide-ish brim. I say wide-ish because, like, what I consider wide and what other people consider wide are two different things. But this is considered wide by most. And then this kind of brim has a raw edge. A raw edge brim is just a brim that is cut, no welt, no binding or anything like that. People like that. It's a clean look. I really like it. This is one of my favorite types of brim types out there. This is absolutely cool. So yeah, another center crease piece, wider brim, and this one is going to have a raw edge there. There's not much different in this hat than the other, but this allows us to kind of give a bit of a comparison to the spectrum of hats that you can go with moving forward. You know, if you're a person that's a bit more conservative and like things a little safe, but a little jazzy at the same time too, you have this shorter brim standard fedora. And then if you're a person who's a little more out there, you know, and wants to be seen in a room full of people, this is going to be more the style there. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be associated with those two personality types, but generally, sometimes you got to judge a book by its cover. This guy clearly wants to be seen. So yes, this is a standard center crease fedora, 2 pinches in the front. We have the outer band here, the brim, and all of the other bells and whistles that most fedoras should have. Okay, now from there, I'm going to keep this out for a quick second. I'm going to introduce you guys to one of my personal favorite styles, the teardrop. So I'm going to put this down for a quick second. I'm going to give the teardrop as much love as I gave the other ones. This is a teardrop, ladies and gentlemen. This is a, excuse me, I should do it like this, right? Maybe not a tear on this one. It's a bloody tear. This is a teardrop fedora. It's a little different than the other ones, and it shows you that you know, there's a bit of range in how the standard fedora could come. You know, if you thought a fedora just simply looked like the 2 that I showed earlier, then you're mistaken. This guy here is going to be a teardrop fedora. This is about a medium brim. This brim is a tiny bit smaller than our wider brim piece here. This is what I consider medium. This is what I consider technically wide, but not super duper wide. Okay, so this guy here is going to be a teardrop crown, like I mentioned before, because it looks like a tear. And this one has a slightly different edge on the brim here. This one has what's called a bound edge or a binding on the edge. The binding does 2 things. Not only is it stylish and it makes it look cool, you kind of change the color of the binding to suit whatever color your outer band might be. You can switch it up a little bit, you know, different binding, different band. But the binding not only is there to look cool, but it provides extra structure and extra stability to a hat without the use of stiffening. So this has a good, nice snap to it, right? Where the brim is staying, a snap is when you snap it down and it stays the way it should stay. Has a good, nice snap to it while simultaneously not needing to be super duper stiff. The hat itself has a nice soft brim, but it also keeps it structured because of the binding around the edge here. Binding is really, really cool. I like hats with bindings on them. And then it has a couple other elements in it. I want to show you guys this, but I'm afraid if I show you guys this, then you might want to try to use it. You can't really use it anymore. It's more of a novelty piece, but it's here, so I'll show it to you. This is a wind cord, ladies and gentlemen. There's a wind cord. A wind cord is an old school item that some hats use for aesthetics these days, much like this one here. The wind cord goes around the hat, it stays around the hat, but you can also attach it to your lapel. You can attach it to one of your buttons on your lapel, and you can lasso it to that. So should the wind ever blow your hat off your head, it would just kind of bounce and then stay in place and not fly down the street, have you chasing your hat down the street. So that's what the wind cord is for. I highly suggest not using it for that anymore. It's just for aesthetic purposes at this point. I would demonstrate, but I don't want what happened last time that happened to me this time. I tried to demonstrate the wind cord, the hat goes flying across the room, and the customer didn't look that impressed. Nonetheless, the wind cord is here, aesthetic purposes once again. This bow is actually a little different than the others. This has a very squared off bow, a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very geometric bow rather than something a little more natural, So this has a different kind of bow here, and it's cool. It's all right. It's all right. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's all right. It's all right. But yes, this is your standard teardrop fedora. Got your outer band, got your binding, got your wind cord, which is a new piece, right? And then we got all the bells and whistles on the inside, your silk lining, as well as your leather band on the inside. So all of the things that make a fedora are present here. So this is another kind of fedora. Now, we are about to move into the more tricky territories of what a fedora is and what a fedora isn't. Now, as of late, the latest and greatest trend on the street are the wide flat brim hats. Let me just show you instead of telling you. It's gonna be something like this here. The question to you is this a fedora or is it not? Answer, this is a fedora. It's a type of fedora. It's a wide flat brim fedora. So a fedora shape and size can alter. So when the brim is flat like this, it's usually what's unflanged. Putting a flange in a brim would be to add the little curl that most standard fedoras normally have. This brim is flanged. Yeah, some are flanged higher than others, but this particular one is unflanged. It's a zero. If it's a zero, then it goes, the flange kind of rises. And yes, I know flange is a bad word somewhere else. I don't need it in the comments, please. But this is a flangeless or a flat brim fedora. And these are all the craze, man. I love this style. This is what I personally wear all day, every day. This is one of my personal favorite styles of all time. I remember watching Zorro as a kid, and I saw his flat brim, and that was it for me, man. That's all I needed to see. And then once I got older and I could dress like Zorro, I sure as hell decided to. So this is your wide flat brim fedora. Most flat brims are gonna be wide. Just the aesthetics are much better that way. Sometimes you do see short brim, flat brims, but not very often. It kind of defeats the purpose of having a flat brim, in my personal opinion. But some people like that, you can't judge and hate on people for what they like. So this is it right here. And this one is sporting a bit more of a Western band, or what they consider a Western band. A thinner, usually made of leather or some other hide type of material band. So this is smack that I wouldn't go all the way and put it into the Western section, but it could be there. A lot of the times before they shape the Western hats, the 10-gallon cowboy hats that you normally see, before they do that, they all start off like this. So I have actually customized one of these to be a rancher style 10-gallon Western. So it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Now, I wish I could show you guys the cattleman's crease. That's the one that's usually tied into the Western hats. We're gonna save that for another time, though. So yes, this is your standard flat brim fedora. Now, Remember, I told you like all of these are a little different in their own way. This one here is sporting a cloth band, ladies and gentlemen, usually made out of cotton or some other sweat absorbent material. The cloth band here is, like I said, I'm kind of leaning more towards that. It's a bit more forgiving than the leather, but this one has, it does have the lining in there, but it does have the cloth band. Now, if I were to be rocking this deep into the spring, I would remove the lining, right? I'll take the lining out and then just rock it with the sweatband there, probably add an extra sweatband for absorbance. And yeah, man, this is a very cool hat. It's a very cool hat. I personally love it. I love the style. And the funny story about it is I didn't just grab a flat brim, put it on and like it. I had a regular fedora just like everybody else. My hat got wet, which is, we're gonna talk about what happens when your hat gets wet in one of our later episodes, of course. My hat got wet. Right, I get home and I wasn't thinking, and I improperly stored it. I put it on the table. With a fedora, you should kind of put it inside of its box upside down so that the flange kind of does its thing, and then you have a good snap and all that good stuff. But I left it on the table. I left it, and I woke up the next. It was wet as hell. I woke up the next day, and it was flat. Now I didn't see it at first. I kind of just I was in that very grab and go New Yorker on the run type of mentality. So I grabbed it, I put it on. You gotta look at yourself in the mirror before you leave the house, folks. Don't let that New York on the go shit stop you from making sure that you look good before you come outside. I looked in the mirror and all I saw was this flat brim, but it didn't bother me. I was like, oh, this looks good. This looks good. We're gonna do this. So from that point on, all of my hats have been converted to the ways of LG. Flat brim, telescope teardrop. We're gonna learn about telescope teardrops. I'll talk more about that in just a second. So yes, this is your wide flat brim fedora. It is the craze, it is what's in right now. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that and show you the different ranges of your standard fedoras and what they can be. Now, we're gonna move on and we're gonna move to our next stage, right? What happens when you run out of, you run out of the standard look for the fedora? You update it a little bit. You put your own spin on it, right? The hat is not yours until you put your own personal touch on it. Before you put your own spice in there, it's just bland, it's regular, it's off the rack. Everybody can have that. You gotta turn it into yours. So you start heading into the customization stage. I'm gonna use myself as a model. I'm gonna get rid of our baseball cap today. And then we're gonna check out we're gonna check out a customized piece, and then we're gonna check out a super customized. When I say super customized, you'll understand in just a second. So your custom fedora. This is one of my personal favorites. This is the Lambo, which is one of the pieces that we have here at the shop. The McGill Lambo is what we call this one. It's a bright yellow. Yellow similar to the mask, I'll say that. There's a couple shades off, but I did my research. It's a couple shades off, but it's an electric yellow piece that we have here at the shop. Now, it initially started off with your center crease. They had the body for the Lambo is the same body as the brown hat that I showed a little earlier, the Ontario. So it started off with a center crease, right? A center crease with pinches in it. I said, nah, that's not the way I like it. We're gonna have to convert this to the ways of LG. So what did we do? We teardropped it, ladies and gentlemen. And not just your standard teardrop. This is my own personal. Now, I'm not gonna go on a limb and say I invented this, but this is my thing. My hats will always come like this. This is how I will carry and represent my hats in every aspect. The telescope teardrop, which combines the aspect of a telescope pork pie, which we'll talk about at some point, with the teardrop that you saw earlier. It's a deeper teardrop that has a more robust bubble at the top. This part here is called the bubble. It's called the bubble, and some hats have it, some hats don't. The bubble is usually there to kind of give the top of your head something to sit on, or rather, it sits on the top of your head, and that oftentimes creates the bubble itself. But the bubble is just there for stability. It's there to for security and make sure your hat doesn't fly off your head. So this has a more robust bubble within a teardrop shape. So it's like big old depression tears, but for happiness. I'm kidding. Nonetheless, this is one of my customized pieces here. You can customize your hat in any way, any shape or form, ladies and gentlemen. You can add some feathers into your hat. I've, added some long feathers here, this little cross X pattern, and then sometimes a bird lands on your hat and just stays there forever. Just doesn't goes away and just becomes a part of the accessory. So sky's the limit, ladies and gentlemen, and how you can take your hat and turn it into something completely different than what it was before. So this is an example of a hat that's been customized. This hat is still the same hat off the rack. I didn't change the band. I didn't really change the look. I slightly flattened it, maybe. Not too much. The hat already had a pretty low flange, and I wanted to keep it in its proper fedora, standard fedora-esque shape. I just wanted to change the crown of it. That's the main thing that I wanted to get rid of and turn into something else. But yeah, I added some feathers to it. I telescope teardropped it. The bird landed there, never left. And now I have something completely different than what it initially started off as. So if I told you that this hat and the brown hat are of the same family, would you believe me? Probably not. But when you see it in action and when you see the work being done, then you understand the full scale of what you can do with just a little bit of creativity and a good hat man, aka me. So, this is an example of something that you can do with your hat to spicing it up and make it look a little better than it did when it first came out of the box. Now, the last but not least, this is a full-blown customization where you take the hat to a whole other level and you leave nothing to what it looks like on the rack. This is pure imagination being applied to the hat. This is the Ontario once again. Remember the Ontario? Remember that the brown one, right? The brown one we saw earlier, the center crease one. This is how far you can take it. Now, not all hats can accommodate this kind of work. You have to be very decisive on what kind of hats you use. You want to use a hat with a nice soft felt, preferably fur felt, because it works a little better than wool. Wool is a little harder to deal with. More time than not, you have to machine press wool in order for it to stay. But fur felt kind of just, it takes steam a little bit better, and you're able to shape and remodel your hat the way you want it to. These guys are in the same family, right? But they look nothing alike, right? The Ontario initially had a flange, much like the Lambo and the brown Ontario that you saw earlier, but I've since flattened the hat completely, right? We took it from whatever it was to 0, and then I retrained the crown and customized the crown for this beautiful heart shape. I have my reasons for it, but I customized it to this beautiful heart shape. Kept the band, the band, the contrast in the band allows me to play a little bit, right? Where are you gonna really be wearing this and finding something that matches it pound for pound? More time than not, you're not. You might find a couple of random pieces here and there, but you don't want to be wearing the same thing all the time. But black or this is a midnight navy. A midnight navy band allows me to play with black as well as some blues. So it allows me to really rock this hat and take it to another level. And then we threw in our long feather, and this hat in particular, I decided to take out the lining, right? Because this hat, I think, because of how thin the felt is, better worn for spring and spring and then deep spring is the better time to wear this hat. So I removed the lining in order for the hat to breathe a little better and to not be gathering heat underneath the crown as I'm wearing it. It'd be the worst thing. You pick your hat up, a pool of water falls off the top of your head. It's not a good look. It's not cute. So yes, so this is the final point of that hat customization. Like I feel like we've slowly but surely been building up. You can go from wearing a baseball cap to wearing a fully customized fedora in a heartbeat. All it takes is a little bit of effort. All it takes is a little bit of confidence. All it takes is the willing to try it. So this will be the conclusion to my little speech. I ain't gonna ramble for too much longer. I think that I have taken up enough of you guys' time. But thank you guys for joining me for episode 1 of Hat Masters, where we've discussed all the different types of hats and all the different parts of the hats that all the different little elements of what makes a fedora a fedora. So thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate y'all, and I will catch you next time here at JJ Hat Center for Hat Masters. Peace.